Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Chris Teutsch. He's with the University of Kentucky. He's Extension Forage Specialist there. Well, Chris, today we're going to talk a little bit about warm season grasses. We've talked about these for years and how they can really help us through the summertime months, but I think they're gaining more popularity.
The other thing is that our climatic zones are actually migrating northward a little bit, and that probably means we're going to be seeing more warm season grasses naturally come into our pastures. Most of our pasture systems in states like Kentucky and Tennessee and Virginia and Missouri have been traditionally cool season based.
But there are some options out there. I know there's been quite a bit of research done. What are some of those options for warm season grasses?
So broadly, we can separate them into warm season annuals and warm season perennials. So our warm season annuals would include traditional things like sorghum-sudangrass, pearl millet, and one of the non-traditional warm season annuals would be crabgrass. Mm-hmm. We kind of think of crabgrass as a perennial, but it's really truly a warm season annual. It's got to come back from seed every year. It's just really good at making seed, right? But for a pasture situation, you know, making your own seed for the following year is probably not a terrible thing because you don't have to buy it again.
Absolutely. And with crabgrass, a lot of people aren't familiar with that, utilizing that as a forage. But, I mean, is it mainly for pasture or can you cut it for hay?
So you can do either one, and crabgrass can actually make a good quality hay. Most of the time we'll use it for grazing in pastures. And it's also a good option if you have a thinning cool season grass stand. Maybe it got abused a little bit in the winter months or went through a drought and it's got some holes in the sod. Crabgrass can actually work really well there if you've got a little bit of space in that sod. R.L. Dalrymple, that's kind of the guru of crabgrass, said if you have about a 6-inch space in your sod, you know, a crabgrass plant can germinate and come up and kind of fill that sod in. So if you're looking for something where you don't want to do a complete renovation of a pasture, but you want to get some warm season grazing off of it, and you've got a thin pasture, broadcasting crabgrass on is kind of a frost seeding application, can be a good way to do that.
So we can broadcast this in. We don't necessarily have to drill crabgrass.
Right. It's always better if you can get some kind of do something to enhance the soil to seed contact. So if you broadcast it and then drug it with, say, a pasture harrow onto a closely grazed cool season sod that's a little bit thin, you can actually get a really nice stand of crabgrass in that situation.
And how long, usually after germination, can we put some type of grazing pressure on it?
Well, I would say after germination is probably going to be about 45 days or so before we can actually start to graze it. We want to get up to about 12 inches or so, 10 to 12 inches, and then graze it back down to about 3 to 4 inches.
So that would be a good option in a lot of our cases where things maybe have been overgrazed and we have some bare areas and we don't want weeds to develop there.
That's right. That's going to help take the space up that a weed would have grown in. So perennial, of course, is something you don't have to seed every year. It comes back from rootstock in the ground. And we've got several of those that we can use. Probably the one with the most potential for grazing and even haying in some cases, we're starting to see more and more of this in western Kentucky, would be Bermuda grass. And Bermuda grass was not as widely used in the past because our improved varieties all had to be vegetatively established, which means I had to dig a piece of Bermuda grass plant up, they called it a sprig, and then transplant it to another field. And we never really had the right equipment or the sprig sources to really have full-scale implementation of Bermuda grass in places like western Kentucky. That's a little bit north of the traditional Bermuda grass growing zone. Kind of one of the exciting things that's happened over the last decade or so is the development of cold-tolerant seeded Bermuda grass varieties. So we can plant these just like any small seeded forage. So they have to have a really shallow seeding depth, so about a 1/4 inch. But if you can do that, you can establish a Bermuda grass stand from seed.
Also, Chris does a great job with the Kentucky Forages YouTube channel. There's numerous videos that you can go and watch and expand your knowledge in forages. So we appreciate you watching the Farm and Home Show and hope you have a great day.